had no invitation. No right. No plan. Just the name of the venue, the Orchard Glass House, a sleek rooftop garden floating above Eastline City, and the truth I hadn't been able to swallow in 3 years. He was getting married. To someone who wasn't me. The elevator ride up felt like an execution. Glass panels all around, my own reflection staring back at me with eyes that hadn't slept and a jaw too tight for forgiveness. I told myself I'd just watch. Slip in. Stand in the back. Witness closure. But when the elevator chimed open and the doors slid apart, I knew instantly I had made a mistake. The rooftop was bathed in amber twilight. String lights looped between steel arches, candles flickered on every table, and expensive floral arrangements spilled onto white marble like they belonged in a museum, not a ceremony. And then I saw him. Ames Talcott. Standing at the end of the aisle in a perfectly tailored navy tux, hair slicked back but a single strand falling loose, just the way it always had when he got nervous. His jaw looked sharper now. More mature. But those eyes, green-gray like dusk right before the storm, still made me feel like I was 17 and helpless. He didn't see me. Not yet. He was smiling at his groom, some political consultant named Langford. I googled him once, tall, rich, Yale something. The kind of man who always wins. Unlike me. I stayed near the back, behind a half wall of hydrangeas and eavesdropping grandmothers. My pulse tapped wildly against my throat as the officiant began. Dear friends, we are gathered here today. I almost left. Almost turned, disappeared back into the city, the way I should have years ago when Ames said he needed space and I didn't fight to stay. But then his eyes lifted. And he saw me. His lips stopped moving. His chest lifted, then didn't fall for a moment too long. Langford turned, confused. Ames? But Ames didn't speak. He just stared. Right. Me. The silence was brief, maybe 3 seconds. But it was a lifetime's worth of ache compressed into a breath. Then I did the worst possible thing. I smiled. A quiet, tight-lipped, sad little smile that said, I'm sorry. I just had to see if it was real. And I turned to leave. Now a word for the ones who've ever stood where I stood. Drop a comment if your heart's ever split open in front of people in perfect tuxedos. Like if you've ever regretted walking away. Subscribe so you don't miss what happens when love doesn't follow the script. Share this with someone who still thinks about the one who got away. And please, tell us where you're watching from. Your family here. I didn't run. I walked. Past the indoor bar. Past a floral photo wall where a live band was already setting up for a first dance that might never happen now. I made it to the lift and pressed the button. Once. Twice. Like I could make it move faster. Behind me I heard footsteps. Not fast ones. Purposeful ones. I didn't turn. Not until I felt a presence behind me and the door dinged open, and a hand reached out to stop it from closing. Then I turned. Standing there, breathing hard, eyes wild and bare. You came, he said. I shouldn't have. You smiled. I nodded. It ruined everything, he whispered. My chest ached. Good. We didn't speak in the elevator. Not when we stepped inside. Not when he pressed the button for the ground floor, then rested his hand on the rail like it was the only thing keeping him upright. He was still wearing the boutonniere. White ranunculus. Clean. Precise. Just like his life had become. Except now it was cracked because I'd walked in. I stood beside him, silent. Breathing the same air. Ames turned toward me, eyes full of something worse than anger, longing. I thought I imagined you. You didn't. I wanted to believe it wasn't you. I know. The elevator dinged. We stepped into the city night like nothing had changed, though everything had. His phone started vibrating. He pulled it out, looked at the screen. Langford. He didn't answer. He didn't even hesitate. Just slipped the phone back into his pocket, turned to me and said, Don't make me regret this. Then don't follow me. That should have been the end. But it wasn't. Because he didn't stop walking. His condo was still in Ashbridge Heights. High-rise, modern glass, all clean lines and chrome handles. I'd never seen it before, but it smelled like him, bergamot and cedar, like old cologne and new guilt. I followed him inside, then stopped in the middle of his living room. He turned. His hands were shaking. You had no right, he said. I know. You could have wrecked me. You followed me. He walked up, close enough that our chests nearly brushed. That doesn't mean you didn't wreck me. I looked down. Then tell me to leave. He didn't. He reached up instead, touched the side of my face like it was the first time, and maybe the last. "Dorian," he breathed. That was all. But it was everything. I surged forward and kissed him. And this time he didn't hold back. It wasn't gentle. It wasn't soft. It was 5 years of unsaid apologies, broken nights, and skin that had memorized each other too well to forget. He backed me into the wall, mouths crashing, hands everywhere, gripping, pulling, clawing. I unbuttoned his shirt so fast the buttons scattered across the tile. He bit down on my lip. I moaned. He swore. "I hate how much I still want you." "Then show me." He kissed down my jaw, neck, collarbone, bit just hard enough to leave a mark. He peeled off my jacket, then my shirt. Our chests pressed, slick with sweat, heat rising like we were on fire from the inside out. I dropped to my knees, fingers curled in his belt. He looked down, eyes wild. "Dorian." I glanced up. "If you kiss me, don't stop." He didn't stop. Not even once. Later we stumbled into the bedroom. Clothes gone. Walls barely holding us upright. I pulled him down onto the bed, legs tangled, sheets kicked back, his skin fever warm under my touch. I whispered into his ear. "Tell me you didn't mean it." "Mean what?" "When you said you moved on." He looked at me, then just looked. And in that stare I saw it. All of it. The nights he must have lied to himself. The mornings he woke up thinking of me even while lying next to someone else. His voice cracked. I tried. I kissed him again, slower this time. And when he entered me, he held my hand. We didn't rush. We felt everything. He moved like he needed this to be remembered, like every inch of me was a map he hadn't read in years but still knew by heart. I whispered his name again and again. He moaned mine. We came together in a wave that neither of us had the strength to fight. And after, he curled around me, silent, but not empty, full of everything we weren't supposed to feel. Morning in the city is always too bright. It crept in through the massive floor-to-ceiling windows of Ames' bedroom, casting soft golden stripes across our bare skin, our tangled legs, the twisted white sheets that smelled of sweat and regret and something older, deeper. I woke before he did. His arm was heavy across my waist. His mouth slightly parted, hair wild from sleep and sex, that same strand still refusing to behave. I didn't want to move. Didn't want to end the moment that had kept me up the rest of the night, my body sore in the best ways, my heart louder than it had been in years. But I couldn't ignore it. That pounding in my chest wasn't just emotion. It was fear. I sat up. The ring was gone from his finger. I hadn't noticed last night when he touched me. When he moaned my name. When he told me he had tried to move on. But now, it was all I could see. He stirred moments later, fingers ghosting over my hip, eyes still heavy with sleep. "You're awake," he rasped. I never really slept. His smile was faint. Said, "Me either." I turned to face him, folding one leg beneath me. "What happens now?" He took too long to answer. His hand slid away. "I don't know." "Did you mean it?" I asked. "Coming after me?" "Yes." "And the wedding?" He sat up, resting his elbows on his knees. "Langford, he was easy. Come. Nothing like us." I convinced myself that was what I needed. And was it? He didn't look at me. It was safe. We sat in silence. He reached for my hand. Held it. But we both flinched when there was a knock at the front door. Sure. Repeated. Familiar. We froze. He stood. The blood drained from his face. "Langford," he whispered. I followed him to the door. We didn't speak. He pulled on sweatpants, barely managing to look presentable. I stood behind the hallway arch, shirtless, heart jackhammering. The knock came again. Then Langford's voice. "Ames, open the damn door. I know you're in there." Ames ran a hand through his hair, then opened it. Langford was in full suit. No jacket. Tie undone. His eyes went straight past Ames, to me. He didn't look shocked. Just destroyed. "Of course," Langford said, voice low. "I knew the second you saw him." Ames stepped forward. "Lang?" "No," Langford said, raising a hand. "Don't you dare." Ames tried again. "Please let me explain." "There's nothing to explain." You chased him out the door, Ames. In front of everyone. I didn't mean for it to happen that way. Langford laughed once. Bitter. Hollow. That's the thing about love, isn't it? It doesn't care about the plan. He turned to me then. "Was this your goal all along?" I swallowed. "I didn't crash your wedding to steal him." I came to see if he'd already been stolen. Langford looked away, jaw clenching. I hope it was worth it. Ames moved closer. Langford. But he was already walking away. He closed the door quietly, then leaned his forehead against it. We didn't speak for a long time. Finally, I whispered, "Do you love him?" He didn't lie. "Yes." I nodded. "Do you love me?" He turned. Looked me right in the eyes. I never stopped. I didn't leave. Not that morning. Not when Langford slammed the door on his way out. Not even when Ames sank to the floor, back against the wall, head buried in his hands like the weight of every decision had just collapsed on top of him. I stood over him for a while. Watched the man I loved, still loved, realize maybe for the first time, that loving two people at once doesn't mean you get to keep them both. He looked up at me eventually. Eyes red. Chest heaving. "I ruined everything," he whispered. "No," I said softly. "You made a choice." "But did I? Or did you make it for me when you walked in?" I knelt beside him. Close but not touching. "This was never about me, Ames. If you'd been truly happy with him, if your heart was settled, you wouldn't have followed me. You wouldn't have kissed me like that. You wouldn't have, last night?" I trailed off. His gaze dropped to my lips. He still wanted me. But I needed more than want. "I can't do this halfway," I said. Ames pressed his palms together like a prayer. "I don't know how to let him go. I still care." "That's not what I asked," I said, voice tight. "You can care. But do you want me? Not just the history. Not just the heat. Do you want a life with me again?" His breath caught. "I'm asking," I said, kneeling straighter, heart in my throat. "Choose me. Or let me go." He stood. Paced. Ran a hand through his hair. Again. I watched his shoulders rise, fall. Then he turned, eyes clearer than they'd been in years. "You were always the chaos," he said. I nodded. "I know. But you were also the calm after it." He crossed the room slowly, each step echoing louder than the last. When he reached me, he cupped my jaw, thumb stroking the corner of my mouth. "I've built 100 careful futures in my head, Dorian. And not one of them felt right unless you were in it." My eyes stung. He leaned in, whispered, "So I choose you." And he kissed me like he meant it. This time it wasn't rushed or stolen. This time there was no guilt lingering on his lips. Only promise. He undressed me in his bedroom again, slow and quiet, as if undressing a future instead of a body. My shirt slid down my arms. His fingers brushed the waistband of my jeans. I helped him out of his. We fell onto the bed like a memory reclaiming itself. Skin to skin. Heart to heart. When he entered me this time, it wasn't about lust. It was about being seen. He held my face, kissed my closed eyes, whispered things I hadn't heard in years. "You're mine. I'm yours. We're still here." And when I came apart beneath him, breath hitching, legs trembling, I didn't feel ashamed. I felt chosen. He followed soon after, collapsing on top of me, his lips against my collarbone, his hands in my hair, both of us wrecked in the best possible way. We stayed tangled for a long time. Breath to breath. Heat to heat. Then he whispered, "What if I screw this up again?" "You will," I said, smiling into his shoulder. "So will I. But maybe this time we screw it up together." He laughed. Soft. Real. And pulled me closer. It rained 2 days after everything fell apart. Not the kind of downpour that floods streets and ruins shoes. No, this was the soft kind. The cinematic drizzle that makes cities shimmer. Like someone upstairs finally exhaled. Ames stood at the window of my apartment, watching people pass beneath shared umbrellas. He hadn't gone back to his place yet. Langford had moved out, left behind only silence and a wine opener neither of us could figure out how to use. I walked up behind him, shirtless, coffee in hand. Still staring? He turned, smiled lazily. Trying to remember if I ever imagined this. "What, me shirtless?" "No. You here. With me. After everything." I passed him the mug. "You didn't imagine it. You followed it." Later that afternoon we went back. To the venue. The Orchard Glass House was empty now, quiet like a church after Mass. No candles, no guests, no vows echoing under glass. Just the ghosts of a ceremony that never finished and a love that refused to die. We stood where the aisle had been. Where he had stood. Where I had smiled. I reached for his hand. He gave it, no hesitation now. "This is where you looked at me," he said. This is where you chose me. He shook his head gently. No. I think I chose you the day I met you in that stupid printmaking workshop. You mean the one where I spilled linseed oil on your shoes? Ruined them. I did you a favor. You did more than that. He pulled me close. And there, in the empty rooftop garden, he whispered a vow no one else would hear. I vow to love you like you're fragile even when you're not. To fight for you not with you. To leave the door open when I'm angry and the light on when I miss you. And to let the past be part of us, but never all of us. I stared at him. Heart full. Voice caught. Then I said mine. I vow to believe you even when I'm scared. To kiss you after arguments. To choose you when you're easy and especially when you're not. And to remind you, every damn day, that you followed me out. And I'll never stop being proud that you did. He kissed me. Right there. No tuxedos. No flowers. No audience. Just skin. Breath. And a promise sealed by lips, not signatures. That night, we made love like we were writing those vows across each other's bodies. Slow. Sacred. He kissed me everywhere. Tasted every part of me like it belonged only to him. We lay skin to skin, hands gripping, hips rolling, sweat slick between us. I rode him like I knew him inside and out. Because I did. Because no one had ever touched me like he had. No one ever would. He moaned my name into my mouth when he came, and I held him so tight I thought we might disappear into each other completely. We didn't need witnesses. We had truth. Ames fell asleep first. Curled into my side. Breathing slow and safe. I stared at the ceiling, tracing invisible rings around our fingers where bands would go someday. Not yet. But maybe soon. And I thought about the day I crashed his wedding. About the moment he saw me. And chose me. And followed me out. Not because I ruined his life. But because I reminded him of the one he really wanted.